through the prism of harmony, with an aim to foster something, to foster a sense of the sacred. All life, after all, is sacred. So this evening there will be 3 presentations and a breakout session. First of all, there will be a presentation about the Harmony and HILDA project and about oneness and love from Dr. Eleni. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Eleni is a consultant in palliative medicine working at Woking and Sambir hospices in Surrey, and also the Harmony lead for the College of Medicine on the Harmony project. Eleni has trained in Ayurveda, studied the Hippocratic tradition and modern lifestyle medicine, and has run workshops on health, nutrition, and conscious living and conscious dying. It is from these real life workshops that HILDA has developed this format of people sharing our knowledge and experience in person that can be a solid foundation from which to explore the concept of harmony and how it can touch us more deeply. The second presentation will be by Mary Morgan. Bees Are Beautiful. Mary is the spiritual care lead at Woking and Sambir hospices, supporting patients, family and staff. Mary is also a funeral celebrant, caring for and supporting the bereaved in creating and leading their services to celebrate the lives and say farewell to loved ones. Mary is also a poet, storyteller and a photographer of our beautiful natural world. Then there will be dance and movement with Dr. Hannah Boikanen. Hannah has developed the wise motion method of neuroscience, movement, and meditation. She's a neuroscientist and a dancer and holds a PhD in the neuroscience of movement, dance, and music. Hannah works at various institutes around Europe, Switzerland, Sweden, and Spain on brain research and education, focusing on the fields of learning, creativity, and embodied cognition. Following the movement session, there will be a chance for everyone to discuss and ask questions in our breakout groups. We're very interested to hear your views. It's the process, the journey that holds the riches, not the end in itself. Now, please allow me to hand over to Marianne Imre, Chief Executive of Woking and Sambir Hospices, who would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Chris. I hope you can hear me. I'd like to start by thanking all of you for choosing to join this workshop on such a lovely Saturday evening, and for all the donations you've made when registering to do so. Whilst harmony has been a huge part of Eleni's life for some time, for me it's a relatively new concept. I joined the hospice team about 18 months ago after a long working life in the commercial sector. So I suspect that I've had a very different journey to many of you on this call this evening. During that journey, perhaps what has resonated with me the most is the conversations that I've heard from my colleagues about what constitutes a good death, a pain-free death for the individual, and what can be a positive and uplifting experience for their loved ones. Hospices play such a key role in demedicalizing what is an inevitable part of life and of nature. And I feel hugely privileged to be playing my own small part in that process and in making our hospice and all the services we're able to provide within the community as accessible as possible. I continue to be humbled on a daily basis by all our staff who, like Eleni, are able to make such a profound difference at the most difficult of times. And I say all of our staff because quite often it isn't the nurse or the doctor. It will be the housekeeper or the catering assistant who will take the time to chat, to remember the way they like their tea or coffee, to set up their phones so that they can see their friends and relatives when they talk to them, or to bring in a card and sing happy birthday to them. They may not have heard about harmony, and they almost certainly won't have heard about the demedicalization of death. But it's there in what they do and in how they conduct themselves. It's clearly a basic instinct deep in all of us, but so often it gets buried by fear. Fear of saying or doing the wrong thing, when actually sometimes all that matters is being there. Our hospice isn't located in the rolling countryside as so many others are. It's slap bang in the middle of a busy housing development, alongside a GP surgery and opposite a Waitrose, a chemist and a cafe. Not what I had ever expected, assuming that I ever had such expectations, but somehow so right, so normal. Part of our community. It's now my absolute pleasure to hand you over to my colleague and our host for this evening, Eleni.
So, as Chris said, I'm the lead of the Harmony Living and Dying Approach project. In our first event, which happened in February, we did a practical session on geometry. You may ask, what does geometry have to do with death and dying? Perhaps everything, and it's a very interesting subject to explore in a theoretical and practical way. As we were drawing with a compass the seed of life, we connected unconsciously to a more secure place in ourselves. As Leonardo da Vinci said, arithmetic and geometry offer the supreme certainty. I wanted to say a few words about the background of this project. For the past 3 years, my now retired palliative care nurse colleague, Jane Hastings, which is pictured on the big photo, and myself, we have been considering how to approach this subject of living and dying in a positive, gentle way that could open up people to this subject and touch them on a different level in themselves. Jane unfortunately can't be with us today. She has been very ill in hospital for the last 2 weeks, and we are all concerned for her. I want to ask you if you could keep her in your thoughts throughout this workshop. She has helped numerous people throughout her career, starting as an intensive care unit nurse and afterwards as a palliative care nurse in hospital. And she did this through a very compassionate and humble approach. My hope and prayers are that she recovers quickly. So as we tried different ways, along the way we met many interesting people who also wanted to explore this subject further. At a death cafe in Kew, we met another woman, Anne-Marie, which is pictured in the center, a lawyer who her personal suffering and search for meaning in life led her to look at death and dying closely. Anne also can't be with us today, as she was with her mum, who died 2 days ago in a hospice in Sheffield. We also met Bridget Haley, pictured on the left, who is with us tonight. Also a nurse, passionate on helping people approaching the end of life with her Sacred Care project, and with whom Jane and I did 2 events on conscious living, conscious dying that revealed to us many possibilities and opened up new ways of speaking about life and death. We met Susan Green, another remarkable woman on the right, who runs nurseries in Surrey and who has also set up an inspired women's club and a community hub to help people in need. Her enthusiasm for the HILDA project was contagious. Susan doesn't do Zooms or screen contact, and we're waiting for the lockdown measures to be lifted to do some face-to-face workshops in her inspired hub in Hampton. We were introduced to the Emergence Foundation, whose trust on the project led them to fund it and to make it possible. And with the ongoing support of the College of Medicine and its chairman, Michael Dixon, and the Woking and Sambia hospices and its chairman, Tim Stokes, and CEO Marian Imri, who are both here today, we managed to get HILDA off the ground and bring it to the public. But none of this would have been possible without the key concept of harmony, which binds everything and everyone together as one. Harmony, harmonia in Greek, means to join, to combine contrasted elements, different elements. Interestingly, in ancient Greek mythology, Harmony is the daughter of Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty, and Ares, Mars, the god of war. So one needs to have both elements to come into harmony, which is very interesting for us all to consider. But this concept started when me and some colleagues of mine read Prince Charles's book, Harmony, a very interesting book for everyone to read. In it, he writes, the universe is one living entity. All living beings are intimately connected in life and death. We're inseparable from others. Love is at the heart of all religions. One who loves others will not harm others, but instead will treat others equally and live amongst all harmoniously. If everyone could know how to love others, society would be harmonious and there would be peace in the world. It's a very interesting book, and I would suggest to you that you get it to read it. It wouldn't have also been possible to do this work in HILDA without studying and exploring the principles of harmony with our sister group, Harmony in Health. So do have a look at our website, harmonyinhealth.org, and our events. Our next event is going to be on the 25th of March and is for health professionals on finding inner harmony. We also have podcasts and other recorded events on our YouTube channel. And all of this work helps to explore the principles of harmony further, which were put together by Richard Dunn, the lead on harmony in education, who is also with us today. So two huge concepts to present tonight, love and oneness. It's quite overwhelming. Who am I to talk about love and oneness? But anyway, I will give it a shot. At the point of death, people often find the courage to say, I love you. This is universal. But I will share with you today Anne's words on her experience of being with her dying mum. Anne gave me permission to share this with you. She said, I have to say, I didn't realize dying would be so busy and so time consuming and intense. But of course it must be, because it is an invitation to be present literally to each breath. Fortunately, I do feel that things like the work we have done together on HILDA has laid a way to prepare myself. I feel I'm able to be here without collapsing into recriminations and what ifs. Mum, her mum was called Tricia, did spend a lot of her life meditating and considering the spiritual underlying essence of being. And that was the part that came out in those last few days with her. Me and Dad found great comfort, healing, and the transformation of our previous relationship during her dying process. Mum said she's not going until every bit of grief and anger has been resolved and transformed into love. She was able to give and receive love in the hospice from the nurses. Her skin became translucent and she had a kind of inner glow. Me and Dad said she looked beautiful, and she did. So there's another principle, beauty in harmony in dying. We had a second amazing day today. She was talking and eating meals and drinking tea with no adverse effects. She's now deeply asleep, and I am afraid to wish for another day. So yesterday she sent me a message saying she died very peacefully just before Dad arrived. Her breathing had changed, and I asked the nurse to come in, and I stepped outside. They called me back in. I gave her a hug, and she took a couple of breaths and stopped very naturally. Dad arrived, and I told him. The chaplain came, and we joined in a wedding that was happening at the same time at the hospice. We had our lunch in the room with Mum and came home. Such beautiful words. So let's consider the art of loving. Eric Fromm wrote The Art of Loving in 1956 in a book. Fromm presents love as an activity, a skill that can be taught and developed. He rejects the idea of love as a magical and mysterious sensation that cannot be analyzed and explained. I think it is important to not reject or define things. Staying open, I believe, parking our simple answers to one side, is the way to greater understanding. Fromm argues that love is the only rational answer to our need to overcome separateness, which he sees, this separateness, our feeling separate from one another, as the fundamental problem of human existence. So connect with each other the way a baby, a 2-year-old toddler connects with you. They look into your eyes and they don't feel separate, and we don't feel separate with them. We smile back at them. Fromm says that modern humans are alienated from each other and from nature. Is it true? Do we seek refuge from our aloneness in romantic love and marriage? Love is our responsibility. Fromm says that it is only through developing one's total capacity of loving one's neighbor with true humility, courage, faith, and discipline that one attains the possibility to experience real love. So it is up to us to cultivate this love. For the women here, and most of us are women, with their feeling of care, when there is an extra fine tuning of something more innate than for men, perhaps. True love involves caring, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. We need to learn, we need to be educated how to love. All these are needed when we are with someone at the end of their life. Seen in these terms, love is hard work, but it is also the most rewarding. Fromm says, love means caring about oneself. taking responsibility for myself first and foremost, respecting myself and knowing myself, being realistic and honest about my strengths and weaknesses. He says that in order to master the art of loving, one must practice discipline, concentration, and patience in every facet of one's life. For love, there is simplicity and perhaps overcoming ego. From echoes the famous phrase that many of us know. In order to be able to truly love another person, one needs first to love oneself. And perhaps more broadly, one needs to love all sentient beings. So love is up to us. Our work is love. Whatever Fromm has to say on love, or Alain de Botton in their books, Men by the Way, let's face it, love is beyond words. Love is beyond words or thinking. That's it, love cannot be talked about. So I should just shut up. Love is so many things. Love is a mystery, an endless mystery, for it has nothing else to explain it, as Tagore said. Love is a guide. Love is all we have, the only way that each can help the other. Love is sacred, a sacred flame, as Samuel Taylor Coleridge said. And to go beyond our dualistic world, which is governed by Aristotelian thought, reasoning, and total reliance on science, we need to turn back to Plato, who said that love is the joy of the good, the wonder of the wise, the amazement of the gods, desired by those who have no part in it, and precious to those who have the better part of it. Love and oneness. If we look to life with a consciousness of love as well as rationality, oneness will open its door. Hlewechli Bogan Lee said in his book, Light of Oneness, a really beautiful book. So how can we bring the simplicity and clarity of love into our life, everyday life? In a sense, this is what my talk is about. It is our responsibility as human beings, doctors, nurses, all of us. We forget love only when the drama of death is there. Sometimes we remember. So the miracle of living and the mystery of dying, which is what HILDA is about, we are exploring it. We don't know what we're going to find on this journey of exploration. Epicurus said that the art of living well and dying well are one. If we could remember every day that we are all going to die, that could cultivate love and peace. It's our forgetfulness that isolates us. It makes us feel that we can control things, that we are important. Love can help us reconnect to life and to its natural state of balance and harmony. And this is what HILDA is about. As long as we fail to take control over and responsibility for ourselves, we will continue to view ourselves as apart from the rest of the world and can't believe that the rest of the world needs and is obliged to do something for us. Einstein wrote, "A human being is part of the whole, called by us the universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as sometimes separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his or her consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few people, those who are nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from the prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and whole of nature in its beauty." He also said, and that is relevant to what comes next, if the bee disappears from the surface of the earth, man would have no more than 4 years to live. So that brings me near to the end of my presentation, and I want to talk briefly about simile, this building on the left, and a bit about dance. Can whoever has their microphone on, can they turn it off, please? So simile is a building that was found in Epidaurus, the ancient healing sanctuary in southern Greece. Simile was a round building with columns and had a dome at the above, and underneath its floor it had a stair that was shaped as a labyrinth. And it is believed that those people who went to Epidaurus to be healed by the priests, who were the doctors as well, that part of what they had to do was go into this round building and dance in a circle, and someone was in the middle of the circle playing a wind instrument. And it is believed this combination of dance and music and the building itself, this amazing architectural building with the dome and the labyrinth underneath, created healing vibrations that helped to, it was part of the healing process, helped the person to get better. And I wanted to read something to you about the word harmony. As I said, it means to join together things. But in dance, it is the ability of those who were dancers to join their feet with the ground beyond them. So those who are dancing are in harmony. And we're going to try this later with Hannah.
So bees are beautiful, and the custom of telling the bees is even more so. So I've gathered a few snippets about this to share with you all today. The practice of telling the bees may have its origins in Celtic mythology that held that bees were the link between our world and the spirit world. Telling the bees was widely reported from all around England and also from many places across Europe. And eventually the tradition made its way across the Atlantic and into North America. So humans, we've always had a special connection with bees going back to medieval Europe, where they were highly prized for their honey and wax. I have to ask, have any of you ever drunk mead? It's possibly the world's oldest fermented beverage. And honey was always used as medicine to treat burns, coughs, indigestion, and other ailments. And as you all know, honey is still used in countless preparations today. Bees are the top pollinators. And it's a fact that bees help humans survive. 70 of the top 100 crop species that feed 90% of the human population rely on bees for pollination. So without them, these plants would cease to exist, and with it, all animals that eat those plants. We need to take much greater care of them. We really do. Because no bees, no us. And that is also a fact that was in part of Elaine's presentation. But the act of telling the bees emphasizes this deep connection humans share with the insect. English folklore believes that when a member of a village dies, the bees must be told, or they will desert the local hive. And it was regarded that bees were the link between our world and the spirit world, as the ritual was seemingly strongest in relation to mourning. There are various customs for telling the bees. These include hanging black crepe about the hive so that the bees join in the mourning ceremonies, inviting the bees to the funeral, or visiting the hive and whispering the names of the dead. Bees were often kept at monasteries and manor houses, where they were tended with the greatest respect and considered part of the family or community. And it was considered rude, example, to quarrel in front of the bees. Well, there are countless references to this custom captured in literature and art. And a recent article recorded on the 3rd of March, 1961, in the Shrewsbury Chronicle told this story. Sam Rogers, a postman for 40 years, was devoted to his bees. He sadly died just 6 weeks after his retirement, and his children carried out the old custom of telling the bees by walking round his 14 hives to tell the bees of his death. The day after his funeral, a memorial was held for him, at which time swarm after swarm of bees were seen coming from the direction of Sam's home, which was 1.5 miles away. They all settled upon the flowers of his grave, which was much to the astonishment of all of those gathered. One of the most famous references to the tradition is written by 19th century American poet John Greenleaf Whittier in his 1858 poem, Telling the Bees. And this is an extract from his poem that I'd like to share with you now. Before them, under the garden wall, forward and back, went drearily singing the corps girl small, draping each hive with a shred of black. Trembling, I listened. The summer sun had the chill of snow. For I knew she was telling the bees of one gone on the journey we all must go. And the song she was singing ever since in my ear sounds on. Stay at home, pretty bees, fly not hence. Mistress Mary is dead and gone. Now, if the bees were not put into mourning, terrible misfortunes befell the family and to the person who brought the hive. In 1899, Margaret Warner Morley, a Victorian biologist, wrote in her book, The Honeymakers, about a case in Norfolk where a man purchased a hive of bees that had belonged to a man who had died. The previous owner had failed to put the bees into mourning when their master died, causing the bees to fall sick. When the new owner draped the hive with a black cloth, the bees regained their health. In another tale, an Oxfordshire family had 17 hives when their beekeeper died. Because nobody told them about the death, every single bee died. Now, Eugene Field Sr. was an American writer best known for his children's poetry and humorous essays. He was known as the poet of childhood, and he wrote this. "O gentle bees, I have come to say that grandfather fell asleep today, and we know by the smile on grandfather's face he has found his dear one's abiding place. So bees sing soft and bees sing low, as over the honey fields you sweep, to the trees abloom and the flowers ablow. Sing of grandfather fast asleep. And ever beneath these orchard trees, find cheer and shelter, gentle bees." Well, today we have, there's a bee crisis, but we seem to have returned to a morbid intimacy with the bees. But perhaps it's comforting to know that the very ancient tradition of honeybees acting as messengers is still preserved today, even in a small way. Thank you for listening, everybody. I'll now hand you over to Hannah.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you, Eleni, Marianne, and Chris as well, and everyone participating here this evening. In my Wise Motion method, I combine neuroscience and creative movement and meditation. And through that method, I've been working with healthcare professionals and also people with different kind of illnesses, such as stroke, MS disease, Parkinson's disease, dementia, and so forth, and also with their caregivers and family members. And I've noticed that there are moments when it's hard to find words. And there are also sometimes these moments when the words are not needed. And I find something very beautiful in moving together and being creative together. And what I've learned is that the moment, it's important for connection with each other, for connection with the environment, and also for the connection within ourselves. So as Chris mentioned at the beginning, love and oneness, they're big words and they're big concepts. And as Eleni said, sometimes they can't be spoken about. They rather need to be experienced. So I would like to invite you for a small movement exercise. Let's say it can be, you can do it as a dance exercise or movement in meditation. So I would kindly ask you, if you have a little bit of space, stand up and we will go for a journey for about 15-20 minutes. And I will guide you through, I will do it with you, but you can really sink into your own world and move from there. I just put music. I hope you can hear the music okay. Great. So just come into standing position. You can start turning your attention inwards. have a little moment observing how is my body right now. Maybe I need to a little bit roll my shoulders or shake the head, whatever your body needs. And also you can notice, how do I feel right now? And you can really calm down here into the standing position. Your knees can be a little bit bent so that you have a firm, stable position, but no any extra tension in your thighs. And if you wish, you can, with an exhalation, gently close your eyes. You can do this exercise eyes closed or eyes open, or you can sometimes open your eyes and close again, whatever you feel suits the best for you. And then gently, you can start bringing your attention to your breathing. You don't need to change your breathing in any way. Just be aware, oh, how is my breathing right now? Just observe your breath. And then you can gently try to little bit lengthen each inhalation and each exhalation. But just so that it feels comfortable. But you can allow the breathing to become soft and long. And you can bring your palms to your lower belly. So you can really feel how the inhalation goes all the way into the lower belly, and you can feel with your palms how the belly expands. And you can allow the breath to go all the way into the arms, into the hands. And imagine that your arms are kind of like prolongation of your lungs. So with each inhalation, your arms can expand a little bit so that they get away from the belly, and with an exhalation, they come back, touching the lower belly. Okay, with an inhalation, they start to move a little farther from the torso, and with an exhalation, they come back to the lower belly. In your own rhythm, and you can really start to feel how the movement is initiated by the breath. You can really feel there is a connection from your fingertips through your palms and wrists and arms, shoulders, shoulder blades, into the chest and down the spine. So that you can really there, when you move the arms freely, according or guided by your breath, you can really feel the connection from the fingertips through the arms, and it doesn't enter the shoulders, it goes all the way into the chest and down to the belly button. You can start expanding the movement of your arms. Always remember that the inhalation and exhalation initiate the movement, and the arms kind of just follow. And you can really feel how you have these long, beautiful arms, starting from the fingertips, through the shoulders, through the chest, towards the belly button. And you can Really start to make larger movement, keeping the body as relaxed as possible. You don't need any extra effort. The breath is enough to guide the movement. You can really feel through the fingertips, through the arms, through the shoulders, coming to the chest and to the belly button. Long, long arms. Also, relaxed, free neck, and the head is there, moving freely as well. Good, good. And always when you start to feel more and more the connection from your fingertips to your chest and belly button, but as well from the top of your head, through the neck, down the spine, you can expand the movement a little bit more. And soft, long breath. And then very gently, we can start shifting the attention to our feet and to our toes. And we can really start looking for the same kind of connection as we found in our arms. We can start searching the same connection from our toes and feet through the legs, all the way into the hip and the belly button. Just take your time by really feeling with gentle movements how your toes and feet and ankles connected through the knees and the thighs, the hip, to your waist and belly button. These long, beautiful legs. And you can really start exploring this connection. Coming really from the tips of the toes, through the legs, all the way to the middle of the body. And you can allow the breath to be soft and long, and also remembering the soft and long arms and the head. And really trying to create this sensation of long connected legs, really there from the tips of the toes all the way to the center of the body. You can really feel the connection and the surface of the floor, and that connection from the floor through your legs to the center of the body, and the other way around, how your center of the body is connected to the surface of the floor. Then you can try to go a little bit deeper through the floor. You can imagine like you would have roots through the floor into the ground. Maybe 1 meter into the ground, into the soil. You can feel the connection from the center of your body to the ground. And you can allow the roots to dig deeper. might feel the connection of the center of your body 10 meters into the ground. Really, this connection from your body through your legs, through your feet, deep into the ground, even deeper. Maybe 1 kilometer depth. The roots are growing deeper towards the ground, into the ground. And you can feel the roots going all the way to the center of the earth. So you can really feel the connection from the center of your body, through your legs and feet, through your roots, all the way to the center of the earth. And at the same time, you can start feeling the air above your hands, above your head, really feeling the ceiling, and expanding through the ceiling to the roof, through your arms, through your hands, through your head, and on the other way around, coming from the air through your body into the center of your body. More, maybe higher, reaching towards the clouds. Reaching beyond the clouds. Reaching towards the stars. Yeah. Reaching to the open starry sky with your hands and head, and feeling the connection coming through your arms, through your spine, into the center of your body. And at the same time, when we can feel the connection all the way into the stars, through our body, into the center of the body, we can also remember the roots, the long roots we had through the legs into the center of the earth. And remembering the long, soft breath. And you can be there. Really start moving, maybe a little bit wider movement, but keeping the connection to the sky and to the ground. Through your body, through every millimeter of your body. With the long, soft breath, really enjoying this connection from the sky through your body into the ground, and the other way around. From the ground, from the center of the earth, through your body into the sky. And then you can gently start coming down, feeling the clouds. Feeling the air above the roof. Feeling the ceiling, feeling the air above your head and above your hands. Feeling your roots there deep, 10 kilometers deep in the earth. Coming back and feeling the 100 meters in the ground. The roots there, 1 meter in the ground. Your roots touching the ground and at the end touching the floor. And you can be there a little while. Maybe paying attention if your body sensation has changed somehow. If you can remember how you felt before we started this exercise. And then you can there just be for a moment with soft, calm, long breath. And just be there a little while, your eyes closed. Breathe a soft, long breathing. You are not in a hurry anywhere. Remembering how we found the breath which went all the way into the lower belly, using the whole lung. And then gently, you can a little bit shake your fingers, shake your hands, maybe shake your head, shoulders. And when you feel like it, you can open your eyes. No hurry. And then when you feel like it, you can open your eyes and then slowly, if you're not here already, you can come back to us, to the computer.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Eleni.
The thing is, we can't touch something inside us with words. Words have a limit. There are possibilities through music, through dance, through poetry, through being in nature, to find out something about ourselves and to be able to connect and feel one, that we can't do it with words and with our thinking. For some people, it may be the first time they're trying something like this, but Hannah, who is a PhD doctor, and others have done a lot of research on this and have found that there's huge benefits. Science showed it, and ancients knew it, and we want to bring it to people who can then be helped to find some sense of love and connection within themselves, because we want to start from inner harmony. If we are not connected with our body, then how can we be harmonious if we are just in our head? Since we are all together in one main room now, we can all share some experiences about the different aspects of this evening, which had to do with HILDA, with oneness and love, with storytelling, and with dance. So if you would like to say something, please raise your hand and give us your feedback. Stefan.
Yeah, hello, thank you. Good evening. So what comes to mind is how we started on the topic of living and dying in harmony, in a state of being that is harmony, and then going into these three different modes of expressing something. It was pointing to me towards one word, and that is creativity. And to be engaged in these three different layers of accessing my creativity and finding ways to express myself. So it could be either through imagination. The bee story was really turning on my imagination. The dancing of Hannah was very much about, really connecting with an embodied experience of myself. And then the first thing that was your presentation, Eleni, right? That was very much about, about philosophy and wisdom teachings and love and oneness, all these topics. I've really, this is sort of the meat on the human spirit for me. And what these three layers of experience do to me is that I'm turned away from starting to pondering too deeply about the really heavy aspects of dying, of going into the mystery of dying, not knowing what is going to happen, which can freak out the mind. But instead to really have an experience of creativity, which to me points towards creative source, where creativity comes from. It's a spiritual quality. And this really helps building me up, in the face of these questions and challenges, especially that we're going through now, collectively and individually, where these questions are rising into consciousness. So I'm very grateful to have explored this with you. And this is, for me, in medicine, I'm a CAM practitioner and I'm a yoga teacher. It's very much the missing link. We need to bring in much more nature and storytelling and creativity and, these nourishing, soul nurturing skills and experiences in order to be well equipped for an experience of healing. So I'm very grateful that I was here, and I say thank you for providing this. Thank you.
Hi everyone, and thank you very much everybody who's sort of been presenting and talking to us this evening. I'm really grateful to be invited. What a just beautiful hour and a half we've had. I'd like to say, so my background, I'm a palliative care doctor, that's how I know Lainey, and I also am a yoga teacher and have just completed training as a yoga therapist. And so much of that is about harmony and connecting the layers of the self, and through a combination of breath and movement and mindfulness, to finding that core of well-being within us and connecting with the world, the universe, with others. What I really loved about this, just as this gentleman said, was just bringing that element of creativity into it. And I thought that's really, really lovely, just to let people do that dance. I just thought was absolutely lovely. So it's given me food for thought in my relatively new journey as a yoga therapist in working with people to help reach that place of inner well-being, and particularly working with a population of patients who are looking at the end of their life and facing their mortality, to find ways to reach them and to help them find that peace and connection, because it is so important. So thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Jackie works with us at St. Peter's Hospital. So it's wonderful to find a like-minded palliative care doctor. Andrew.
My question on all this, I know you did it with movement, and we've all been saying that there's no language for it, but I don't think we can just say it's ineffable. For me, I'm nothing to do with this, and I'm not an intellectual or whatever, but I meditate, and I find that myself, I had a very rough childhood, and I can be in one state where I'm in survival, and therefore I'm thinking of only my family and next week and bugger everybody else. I grew out of that, and I started to think of the nation and the next years, and I'm using my intellect. And again, I know how to use a language. But when I meditate at 4 o'clock in the morning. And now I'm thinking of all beings for all time, which is what we were saying. And I'm in love with the unity of everything. But then when I wake up in the morning and I come here and I start talking, or I talk to people, I know how to use an expression for the first one, survival, and the second one, intellect, but I don't know how to approach people in that love. Now, if I was with somebody who was dying, it would be no problem, because I can talk in those, but if I'm going down the street and meeting somebody new, I don't know how to behave unless I was dressed like a monk in that beautiful way. So my question is, and I don't want to dance in front of them, how can we can't say it's ineffable, there's no language. How can we devise something whereby the body movement, the eye to eye, like we were saying, looking at a child and talking is not, oh, bloody hell, what's this guy doing? He's weird. You see what I mean?
Yes. Well, I can say something. I don't know if others want to say as well, but it's a very good point. And I think that's the crux of it, because we all misinterpret other people's behavior and intentions. And actually, we misinterpret them according to where we are ourselves, in ourselves. So I guess, Andrew, one has to try very hard to put oneself on someone else's shoes. And that is not easy. And one has to be careful, because people don't always think as we think, and then the trouble begins. But if I manage to have compassion for other people, for their difficulties and for their life and for their struggles, for their ego, for whatever, if I manage to find compassion, then I just listen, and I don't talk. If I can just listen, then everything changes. And it's very hard to just listen, I think. But if we could do that, be present, feel our feet on the ground and listen, then people understand, sense something, and something changes. That's what I think. I don't know if someone else wants to say something.
Can I say something, Eleni?
Marian and then Mary.
Marion, okay, Marion.
Thank you, Eleni. I think this evening's been a real revelation to me. As I said in my introduction, I've come from a commercial background, so in a sense, I'm struggling to catch up with you and some of the other attendees on this call. But I have to say, I found it incredibly interesting, and I'm grateful, as others have expressed, for you pulling it together in this way. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Marian, for your support. Mary.
Yeah, if I'd like to make a comment from my own experience on the last gentleman said, and from what you said, Eleni, I think, and this is very much as my role at the hospice as the spiritual care lead, and I'm meeting with families, with the actual bereaved, with the families and with the patients, and spend time with them. And I think that sometimes, this is how I see it, is that we are sometimes perhaps afraid to be honest and be who we are. So if you're with people, they will know intrinsically, especially people that are in the hospice and at the time that they are there, they will know if you are not being you. And it's about being honest and not to be afraid that, well, if I say it this way or if I say it that way, is this going to be the right way? Because you can only be who you are and be honest. But in that being who you are, you must, as we've all been saying here, compassion and empathy. And if that means listening, or if that means talking, you will know in your heart which is right. So it's not to be fearful, I think.
Thank you, Mary.
I think if I could add, I think there is, as I do volunteer work with a hospice here in the United States, and the reason why I do the volunteer work is to build my own compassion and love, to the question previously, to be a better person, because as I went through my parents' death, I realized that being by their bedside, I became a better person. I was patient and I was caring and I was all those things that I wanted to be as an individual, rather than a successful, driven executive. And so I made the transition to volunteer a few hours at hospice, and it helps to build that love and compassion in me. And I've tried different things as I go in with patients, and this may help, at least it's helped me, is before going into a patient, to see a patient, a dying person, I breathe in light and love. And I will be in a quiet spot, at least for a couple of minutes, where all I do is breathe in light and love. And that's all. And I feel that when I walk in and I talk to the dying patient, I feel that they can feel it. It's not what I say, it's not what I do. I feel that I'm able to share that better part of me. And we can all tap in to bringing that in. And just doing a little thing like that, every time, even just going to the grocery store, I've tried, just say, okay, I'm going to breathe in light and love. And I think that I'm able to touch people differently as a result of that. So, just a little bit of practice also helps to build compassion, because we all want to be, but sometimes we're not, realistically.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Ingrid.
Thank you, Eleni. I found this conversation very nourishing. I'll explain, I'm a consultant psychologist. I'm also a registered spiritual healer. And for me, the energy of love is the healing energy that flows through us all. And for some personal reasons, for whatever reason, people seem quite often to lose the sight of the fact that their basic energy, their source of energy is love. So when we're talking about finding the love, we only have to clear away the stuff that has blinded us and look within to our own inner being, the part of us that is the core, the center of us. When I'm working with my students, I ask them, first of all, in the very first session, to be, first of all, aware of sensing their own energy, the human energy field. After that, I ask them to find the love within themselves, imagine themselves filling their whole being with that love, and then feeling the difference that makes to their energy field, and they're usually quite astounded at the difference in the strength, or depending on how they're wired, and the difference of the brightness or the buzz, whatever. And so as a healer, and I've worked with people who are dying as well as people who are luckily recovering, I have experienced the fact that love never dies, and that when people's physical death comes to that point, the soul lives on in a different way.
Yes, Ingrid, I understand what you're saying. I think it's very difficult to approach these subjects with words, because people put different meaning to the words according to where they're coming from. And soul and man and human, for one person means one thing, and for another person another. And we don't want really to impose our beliefs on other people. I mean, who am I to tell someone about their soul?
Don't get me wrong, when I'm working.
No, I know you're not
the soul, they want to know, what is this sensation they're feeling?
Yes, I understand what you're saying, but I don't want, with HILDA, I really don't want to impose philosophy. We really want to open up questions and these beautiful concepts, the harmony principles of oneness and love, and interconnectedness, interdependence, and look how these are connected to nature. And I think because we live in a world that is mostly secular, for whatever reason, one thing that people are able to connect to is nature. I've tried it with dying patients in the hospice. Most of them say they have no spirituality or religion, but they can connect to nature. They can understand that there's something bigger than them that is called nature. And they can understand the cycles of nature, that things die and come back to life. And they can see the light outside. So this is why I think this work can help people.
Yes, and there's a very big difference between awareness of spirit energy.
Richard, yes, thank you, Ingrid. Richard.
Yeah.
Sorry, actually, I was just saying I have to go. But thank you so much. It's been a wonderful session. I'll just say one last thing, which is to do with children, because I've spent most of my career working with children, and just coming back to the point about how you connect. And I think it's referencing some of the points made already, that it is through a smile. It's a recognition of saying, I see you. It's through a how are you, or a hello, all the things that we do, for example, when we go for a walk. I think those very simple gestures are the things that really connect us. And they're the things that we need to hold on to and make sure we do every day.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah.
So anyway, lovely to be with you. Thank you so much. I have to go, I'm afraid.
The Indian Americans used to say that when a healer went to see an ill person, someone who was ill, they would ask them, when was the last time you laughed, the last time you danced, and the last time you said your story? And these are three very important things. We laugh a lot at the hospice, actually. Marian and I yesterday were laughing about various things that various patients say to us. And I see Naomi, one of our doctors on the ward, is here as well. So it's not a morbid place, it's actually a happy place. And I would invite you if you want to come and join us. But anyone else want to say something?
Eleni, can I just second that? We'd be very happy to welcome any of the attendees at tonight's session to Working Hospice. I think Eleni is right. It is a very different place to certainly I envisaged it would be. And yeah, we do have a chuckle most days about all sorts of things. So it is a very different place than one might envisage it was.
Mm. Thank you. Claire.
Sorry, I just started to say thank you so much for this evening. It was fantastic. I found it really, really interesting. I'm also a CEO of a hospice, and I just like to absolutely endorse what Marianne and Eleni have said. I've been in the third sector, working in the third sector for 29 years now, in various different charities, only more latterly for the last 4 years in hospice sector, and it is the happiest place I've ever worked. And I never ever expected that. So for anybody who's not experienced a hospice, I'd absolutely say go along if you can, when it's safe to, and experience that happiness, because it's quite phenomenal actually. But thank you so much for allowing me to come this evening. I very much enjoyed it.
Claire, which hospice are you in?
Lewis Manning Hospice in Dorset.
Okay.
Okay.
And I would echo.
So thank you very much.